Okay, welcome and thank you again for joining this webinar. My name is Cooley. I'm the Targeted Outreach Director for the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, also known as the DFPI. Today, you'll hear from many fantastic organizations that help student loan borrowers, and you'll also learn how they could help you with your student debt. There's a lot of great information, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. First off, some housekeeping items about this webinar. This webinar is being recorded and it will be published to the DFPI's YouTube channel. There's a link to it right there. Probably going to be a little bit after this webinar, but we will have the video live available on our YouTube channel so you could rewatch it if you need to. For this webinar, your microphones and cameras have been turned off. And that way we could focus more on the contents. But if you do have a question, please feel free to submit it through the chat. And we will, at the very end of the presentation, we will get to as many questions as we can. Okay? Okay, next slide. About the DFPI. So the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation is California's licensing and regulatory agency over state financial institutions and professionals and products. So think of us as the state regulator for state chartered banks, credit unions, and also financial servicers and products, things like debt collectors, as well as payday loans. And that also includes student loan servicers. So we conduct audits to ensure compliance, and we also review consumer complaints and basically enforce any kind of state and federal, actually state laws that are relevant to those individuals that we license and regulate. We also provide consumer awareness presentations throughout California to help protect customers from protect consumers from fraud and scams. We like to we issue consumer alerts and provide a lot of great information for consumers. And then, of course, we have a link right there to all the different licensees that we regulate. But to that end, next slide, please. One of the industries that we license is student loan servicers. And we have a student loan Loanbuds person that we recently hired. She's been here for a little while, but one of her duties is, these are her core duties. She reviews and analyzes student loan borrower complaints. She shares and presents information to the public about student loans. She also analyzes and monitors federal, state laws, regulations, policy updates regarding to student loan borrowers. She also evaluates any kind of issues and concerns regarding student loans, student loan laws, and makes appropriate recommendations. And finally, she collaborates with other agencies and organizations to assist student loan borrowers. So if you do have any kind of issues and you need help, please feel free to contact Selena Damian. Her email is right there. Next slide, please. And so we have a student, we also, again, we license student loan servicers. To that end, we have a financial institution manager who oversees our student loan licensing unit. His name is Devin Bragg, and I'd like to hand it off to him.
Thanks, Koo. As he mentioned a minute ago, my name is Devin Bragg. I am the program manager for the student loan servicing program here at the department. And really, we are the department's interface between us and the servicing industry. And we conduct the licensing and examination portion. And while I could probably regale you for hours with contemporary examination techniques and swashbuckling stories about examinations, I think I'll save it and we'll go to stuff that affects you more directly. Can you slide me, Q? I think one of the most important things that needs to be out there is that effective 1/1/21, the state implemented a law called the Student Borrower Bill of Rights, and it provides additional consumer protection to student loan borrowers. And it basically, in short, requires that servicers work in the best interest of the borrowers. A couple of big facets of this are fees. And so they should be applying your payments in a way that reduces fees and charges. Your fees should be capped. Your late fees should be capped at 6% of the amount past due. There are certain very, very small carve outs for this, but for the most part, your late fees should be pretty well capped out. It provides you an avenue of recourse for, against servicers that break the law. It requires servicers to provide accurate information, and almost more importantly, they should be able to provide you timely and accurate information on alternative repayment options that will help you avoid default. And one of the more subtle, but probably one of the more powerful tools in that law is it requires the servicers to respond to your requests within 30 days. And this gives you a metric to measure them by, and it gives us a metric to measure them by. And they should be replying with timely and intelligent responses. If they don't, you can reach out to us. Q, can you hit the next slide? One of the other facets I would like to talk about very quickly is loan forgiveness. If you're a public servant or if you work in a nonprofit and you make 10 years worth of payments on your loans, you may qualify for forgiveness. If you're not aware, there is a limited waiver out currently, and you may be eligible to have your payments recounted or some additional debt forgiven under a consolidation plan. There are other types of forgiveness available, and we could probably spend hours talking about it, and I'm sure we will at some point in the future. It would be something to explore. If I could move on to the next slide, Q, and the last major facet of my presentation, the return to repayment. So as of today, we are still set to resume federal loan payments on the 1st of May. There are a couple of things that you should probably do to get ready. Update your contact information with your servicer if you haven't done so already. Make sure that your upcoming payment amount is correct. Make sure that your auto debit information is correct. That's one of those hidden things that may bite you in the behind if you're not paying attention. And if you're not ready to resume your full payment yet, as mentioned earlier, your servicer should be prepared to discuss alternative repayment options under an income-driven plan if you need it. And last, but certainly not the least, can you hit me on a slide, Q? How do you get the behemoth known as the state of California to do something for you should you need it? Probably the easiest and fastest way is to file a complaint with us. Our complaint filing system is posted on our website. It's easy to find. We have an entire team of folks who are well-trained and extremely fast at what they do. They triage these complaints. They can handle a lot of them on the spot or very quickly. The more complex complaints get triaged out to the special programs. If you have a particularly complex situation, or you think that your servicer has blatantly violated the law, I would encourage you to reach out to our very talented and very passionate Selena Damian, our student loan ombuds person. She is knowledgeable and happy to help you. And I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't put out a plug for our upcoming outreach programs that we are going to ramp up very quickly. Follow us on Twitter. Hit our YouTube channel for plenty of educational videos. And I think that's it. I will give my time back to the rest of the presenters, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you, Devin. Some really great information there. We need to keep moving. So next up, we have Bukola with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Q. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Bukola Adesami, and I'm the Outreach Specialist at Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And I'm here to share some student loan resources with you today. Next slide. But before I get into today's presentation, I do have to share this brief disclaimer that I'm speaking on behalf of the Bureau. I'm not giving legal guidance or advice, and any opinions or views that I express are my own and may not represent the Bureau. Next slide. So about CFPB, We are a federal agency that was created out of the Dodd-Frank Act, and our mission is to implement and enforce consumer financial laws and ensure that markets are working fairly and transparently. At CFPB, we have a division called Consumer Education and External Affairs. My office, the Office for Students and Young Consumer, falls under that division. And within the division, we serve various special populations. So within section for students and young consumers, we create tools and resources to help consumers and their families navigate important financial decisions regarding paying for college, saving for college, and also managing their money. Next slide. So here I'll share some of the tools and resources that we've created. Our Paying for College webpage. There's a ton of resources on this webpage that's available for you and your students and their families to determine what types of loans are right for you. You can also find information on this Paying for College webpage that will help you with student banking and also with managing your money. Then we have our GradPath tool that you input information from your financial aid award letter into this tool, and it will help estimate the total cost of a college education, the amount of student debt that you would have borrowed by the time you graduate, and also help you evaluate how that debt may impact your current and future finances. Our COVID-19 resource page was created to help students stay informed with what options are available to them in light of COVID-19. And then we have our Financial Intuition podcast, which is fairly new, but in our podcast, we talk with different subject matter experts on various financial topics, like paying for college, credit, budgeting, and different tips and strategies to help you manage your money. Right now, our podcast is only available on our website, but soon it will be available on all major podcast platforms. Next slide. So public service loan forgiveness. On our public service loan forgiveness website, we have guides for employees, and we recently updated all of those guides to include information about the limited waiver opportunity. So you can find those guides on our website. In addition to user guides, we also have a webinar that we recently recorded. It's fairly brief, but it really does a good job of explaining the limited waiver opportunity. Next slide. If you're on this call and you're a practitioner or someone that works with students and their families, on our practitioner webpage, you can find information about helping students navigate their student loans, and also a link to all of our practitioner webinars. We have an archive of webinars on this webpage. Next slide. All right, and this slide just kind of summarizes a lot of our general resources that we have. I just want to point out our free bulk printing resource. I think this is a great resource because if you're interested in any guides or information to help you with choosing a loan that's right for you, applying for financial aid, or anything where you need assistance, we offer guides for free on our website. You can either download them, or if you work with students and you wanted to have these guides printed and mailed to you, you can also order them from our website and they will be shipped to you at no cost. And you can order as many as you want. Also, I'll point out our Ask CFPB page is also a great tool. If you are looking for information on a specific topic, you can just put in a keyword into the search bar on the Ask CFPB page, and frequently asked questions surrounding that topic will appear. Next slide. And that's my presentation. Here's my contact information if you have any follow-up questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bukola. Again, some really great and fantastic information. Right now, the chat is on fire. There's a lot of really great questions are being put out there. I know some of my panelists are answering as best they can, but just to let you know, if we don't answer all the questions, we're going to try to answer some of them at the end of the presentation. With that, I want to hand it off to Amy with the Student Borrower Protection Center.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name's Amy Solano, and I'm the Outreach and Advocacy Coordinator at the Student Borrower Protection Center. Actually, Ku, is this correct? Or next slide, perhaps? Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Awesome, thank you. So a little bit of background on the Student Borrower Protection Center. We're a national nonprofit policy organization that's focused solely on alleviating the burden of student debt in the country. And we engage in a mix of advocacy, policymaking, and litigation strategy to rein in industry abuses, protect borrowers' rights, and advance economic opportunity for the next generation of students. And we work on these issues both at the federal and state levels. And in addition to our work at the federal and state levels, one thing that we've been focused on for the past few months and until October of this year is making borrowers aware of the public service loan forgiveness waiver period, which some others on this call have already mentioned. So last October, the Department of Education created a waiver for borrowers who had previously been ineligible for the PSLF program because of its bureaucratic program criteria. And so essentially what the department's waiver does is give public service workers credit towards loan forgiveness, regardless of what type of federal loans they have, for any period of time since October 1st, 2007, when the program began, and as long as they were in qualifying public service employment and their loan wasn't in default, deferment, or forbearance. So even for months in which borrowers didn't actively make a payment, as long as the loan was in repayment status, they can receive credit. And these credits will be retroactive, so borrowers can receive credit for past payments that were previously ineligible. In short, for any month since October 1st, 2007, that a borrower had any type of federal loan, worked for a qualifying public service employer, and wasn't in default, deferment, or forbearance, that borrower can receive credit towards the 120 months required for forgiveness under PSLF. And this is a time-limited waiver that only lasts until October 31st, 2022. So we're partnering with government agencies and nonprofit organizations to spread the word about eligibility and how to apply. So if your organization would like to partner with us on a webinar, please feel free to reach out. Our next general presentation open to the public on the PSLF waiver is scheduled for next Tuesday, April 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And you can register on our website at protectborrowers.org/events. And then next slide. Thank you. In addition to the webinars that we're doing with organizations across the country, we also have 2 resources available for borrowers to help them understand eligibility and for the waiver, and also how to apply for the public service loan forgiveness program under the waiver. The first is located at our website, which is right here, protectborrowers.org/PSLF, and the other is at forgivemystudentdebt.org, which we have set up in collaboration with some of our labor partners. And both websites feature short videos, a step-by-step guide on how to apply, and a list of ombudspersons listed out by state so that borrowers can submit complaints if needed. Thank you so much for having me today, and please reach out to us if you're looking for information on the PSLF waiver.
Thank you, Amy. Great information from the Student Borrower Protection Center. I'm sorry, Delilah, I actually skipped you from the Federal Trade Commission. So we have Delilah, please take it away.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Delilah Vinzon. I'm an attorney at the Western Region, Los Angeles office of the Federal Trade Commission. Maybe God's gift, because all I'm here for is to be a cautionary tale to help you all avoid getting scammed. I do want to make a disclaimer that my comments are my own and not of that of the Federal Trade Commission or any individual commissioner. The FTC is a bipartisan federal agency with a consumer protection mission to stop fraud, deception, and unfair business practices. So part of that is educating consumers through webinars like these to be proactive in helping you avoid frauds and scams. As we know, student loans are a major burden on a large population of people. And because of that, scammers seek to take advantage of people who are looking for relief from their student loans, as we see in the comments and what Amy has spoken about. If you are looking for throughout your student loan process, are looking to pursue PSLF or other income-driven repayment programs or other programs, you might be able to learn about those through the resources that are offered here from my panelists today and other agencies. But we just want to remind you that you do not have to pay for help with your student loans. There's nothing that any outside company that's selling services for you, there's nothing that they can do for you that you cannot do yourself for free. So if you are a federal borrower, a good place to start is at studentaid.gov/repay. And if you're a private borrower, you should start with your loan servicer. Next slide. And just some quick tips to avoid scams. Only scammers will promise fast loan forgiveness. Before they know your situation, they may offer to quickly get rid of your loans through a loan forgiveness program, but they cannot do that. A telltale sign, and one thing to certainly avoid, is to never pay an upfront fee. It's actually illegal for companies to charge you in advance for helping you to reduce or get rid of your student loan debt. And companies that make you pay upfront are not going to give you any help, and they're likely never to give you your money back when you don't get help. And then you should just also be aware that the government seal, Department of Education seal, can be fake. They're not necessarily legitimate, so just be cautious of that. And certainly don't ever share your your federal student aid FSA ID with anyone. Scammers can use your personal information and take advantage of you that way. So the last resource I'll highlight is ftc.gov/student loans. It's just a resource for information. And that's all for me. Thanks, Ku.
Thank you so much, Delilah from the Federal Trade Commission. Some really great information there. Next up, we have Desiree from the East Bay Community Law Center.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I know it's a mouthful. I'm Desiree Wynne-Orth. I'm the director of the Consumer Justice Clinic at East Bay Community Law Center. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the East Bay Community Law Center. We're the largest legal service provider in East Bay. We seek to promote justice and community stability through legal services and policy advocacy that is responsive to the need of low-income communities and legal training that prepares future attorneys to be skilled and principled advocates. We have a women of color-centered platform, meaning that we prioritize policies, partnerships, and investments that center the dignity and experience of women of color. We know that when we invest in the strategies that benefit women of color, we uplift families and the advanced systems change work that can be felt at the community level. Next slide, please. We offer 8 distinct practice areas, which are historically focused on advancing systemic solutions to end racial inequities, whether that's through impact litigation, local and state policy, or community education. We seek to improve the lives of low-income communities while preparing future attorneys to advocate fiercely for the underrepresented. Next slide, please. In the Consumer Justice Clinic, we have 4 attorneys, 2 program coordinators, 1 work study student, and students all year round from Berkeley Law and around the country. We hold clinics twice a month. They'll be hybrid starting in May. Currently, they're virtual. And while our work runs the gamut for consumer issues, in the space of student loans, we help clients with getting out of default, consolidation, finding an income-driven repayment plan, forgiveness waivers like public service loan forgiveness, total permanent disability, and borrower's defense to repayment, as well as debt defense for private student loans. Next slide, please. If you are in the Alameda County area, you can please contact us at this email address or snap that code to be taken to our intake form. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Desiree, with the East Bay Community Law Center. Next up, we have Silvana with the Office of Student Assistance and Relief.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Silvana Shields, and I'm an analyst with the Office of Student Assistance and Relief. Today, I will be providing you just with some information on what we can do for you as a student borrower. Next slide. All right, a little bit about the Office of Student Assistance and Relief, or better known as OSAR. We were established on July 1st of 2017 as a result of the large for-profit school closures such as Heald and Everest. We are part of the Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education, and we fall within the California Department of Consumer Affairs. So essentially, we are here to help protect consumers, specifically students and veterans. Now, we're also very fortunate here at OSAR to have partnerships with other agencies such as the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, where together we present information to students all across California. Now, specifically for today, I'm going to be focusing on predatory student lending for those of you wanting to return to or continue with your education. And so what to look out for when borrowing student loans, as well as resources for all student borrowers, including veterans. Next slide. All right, so what exactly is predatory student lending? So it's any lending practices that impose unfair or abusive loan terms on a borrower. So it convinces a borrower to accept unfair terms through deceptive and coercive actions. So predatory lending essentially provides a lack of transparency. Okay, these lenders will entice and assist borrowers to take out a loan that they know they will not reasonably be able to pay back. So they often target certain populations such as veterans, minorities, international students, and the elderly returning to school. The bottom line here is to please do your research and to reach out to organizations like OSAR who can help you along the way. Next slide. All right, so what are some of the red flags to look out for to make sure that you don't fall victim to predatory student lending practices? So this first one here is specifically for veterans. Okay, if you are forced to take out student loans, although your GI Bill will cover the entire tuition. Okay, if your entire tuition is covered by your educational benefits and you're receiving enough housing allowance that will pay for your living expenses, you shouldn't need to borrow tens and thousands of dollars to pay for your schooling. Okay, like I said, unless you absolutely need it for your living expenses, do not be forced to take out money you don't need. Next, you sign documents without being able to review or get copies of what you've signed. Okay, nowadays with technology, you sign on a tablet and you don't even know or see what you're signing for. So please make sure to ask the lender to email you copies of any documents that require your signature. And if possible, either sign electronically if the form is fillable or sign in person. Next would be basic costs of a loan are not apparent. So if you don't know exactly what the interest rate is, or if you don't know what the loan terms are, or how many years you have to pay back the loan, or if there's any penalties if you are going to pay off the loan early, these should all be outlined and apparent for your review. And if they aren't, please make sure to ask for that information in writing. Okay, if something is too good to be true, okay, the bottom line is if something doesn't make sense, please ask questions and do your research. Next, there's many complaints against the lender. Check the Better Business Bureau, check Yelp, even social media like Facebook. If there's many complaints against the lender, it's a huge red flag. Lastly, I would say rushed process. If you don't feel comfortable taking out a student loan or you don't understand the terms, take your time, do your research, and once again, ask questions. Next slide, please. All right, so here are some resources and a couple of our frequently asked questions. So number one, can I afford to attend college? So the Federal Student Aid has an excellent tool. It's a loan repayment calculator where essentially you can input how much you plan on borrowing with the interest rate, and it will calculate what you will end up paying once you graduate. It's an excellent tool to figure out exactly how much you can afford to pay back. Next would be, how do I verify whether a college is accredited by a recognized accrediting agency? Okay, accreditation is very important because it sets the standards for a college and it ensures a certain level of academic integrity and quality. So it's very important to make sure that you attend a school that is accredited. Next, I have several schools in mind. How do I find out the cost to attend each one? So the California Student Aid Commission has a net price calculator. It's an excellent tool where you can get an estimate of the actual cost to attend a California college. Next slide. All right, so we continue with resources, and these frequently asked questions are specifically for veterans. So the first, is this college a GI Bill approved institution? So if you plan on utilizing your educational benefits, it's important that the school is approved and accredited with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. They have a school search tool where you can type in your school and make sure that they are accredited. Next, will my military service transfer to college credits? Okay, the American Council on Education has a tool where you can check whether your military training or the jobs that while you were serving and the completed courses that you took while you served, if those will transfer to college credits. So this will give you credit recommendations. Lastly, I'm a disabled veteran. How do I find out if I qualify for federal loan discharge? So there are many federal loan discharges. One specifically is if you are a total and permanently disabled veteran. So please make sure to visit the Federal Student Aid's website listed here to find out which documents exactly you will need to apply and to qualify for this program. Next slide. All right, so one of the services that OSAR offers, it's a closed school services. So number one, we have a financial relief and tuition reimbursement program called the Student Tuition Recovery Fund. This fund is in place to help students that have been affected by a school closure or by fraudulent activity by a university. We also help with obtaining school documents and records such as transcripts. We help in filing complaints against a private college, and we also provide information on the different student loan discharge programs. So I would encourage you to visit our website, osar.bppe.ca.gov, and also visit the Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education for additional resources and assistance. Next slide. All right, everyone. Well, thank you. My name is Silvana Shields. Here's my email address. Please make sure to email me if you have any questions. I will be definitely happy to help you. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Silvana. A lot of really great information from the Office of Student Assistance and Relief. Next up, we have Lynn with Veterans Education Success.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lynn Zhang, and I'm a law fellow at Veterans Education Success. We are a nonpartisan organization that strives to advance higher education success for veterans, service members, and military families. We provide free help to service members and veterans about federal student loans and military benefits, including many of those in California. Next slide, please. We handle many common inquiries such as repayment plans, loan default, public service loan forgiveness, as well as other loan forgiveness options. We also help students seek discharge of their student loans due to wrongful school actions or closure. Military-connected students also come to us for help with other federal education benefits, such as those provided by the Department of Defense and Department of Veteran Affairs. Next slide. A big part of our work is to assist students who have been defrauded by their schools and as a result are saddled with student loan debts. Anyone, regardless of your status, can apply to get your student loans discharged and even get reimbursed for loans you already paid if your situation falls under one of those buckets. For instance, if your school took out loans in your name without your permission or signed your name without your knowledge. We've also seen many cases where the school defrauded student veterans by lying to them about accreditation and or job placement rates. You could also get your student loans discharged if your school closed and you were enrolled within a certain period of that closure. Another common scenario is the school wrongly enrolled you in a program you couldn't benefit from, such as if you lacked a high school diploma or GED when you enrolled. Our team can speak with you to see if you qualify for loan forgiveness due to your school's actions. If you're active duty military, you have additional rights, and we're more than happy to speak with you about your options. Next slide. Even though our services are limited to those who are military affiliated, we work constantly with congressional leaders and federal government agencies to bring about positive changes that affect all student borrowers. Drawing upon our experiences from working directly with student veterans, we identify patterns of illegal practices from certain schools and press relevant federal and state agencies to address them. We also work with whistleblowers who have information about illegal or fraudulent behavior at a school to make sure that such behaviors are put to an end. We are very active in the student loans policy space and also publish research on student outcomes and quality of education. Next slide, please. Our website offers many resources that are relevant to all student borrowers. We also have an upcoming webinar on April 19th about the public service loan forgiveness process with the Student Borrower Protection Center. At that event, we will talk about the big change that Department of Education announced last year, making more people eligible for PSLF, and we're more than willing to answer any of your questions regarding PSLF. You can register for this event by going to protectborrowers.org. Military connected students can also receive free help from our organization by reaching out to us on social media listed on this slide or by emailing us at help@vets@success.org. It was great speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Some really great information from the Veterans Education Success. Next up, we have Robin with the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles.
Hey everyone, my name is Robin Smith. I'm from the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, and we are an organization that have been providing legal services for the last 35 years consistently. We provide free legal services to student loan borrowers who are eligible low-income people that reside in Los Angeles County. Next slide, please. These are some of the services that we provide. We stop involuntary collection by the federal government, including wage garnishment, tax refund offsets, and public benefits offsets. We help defend private and federal student loan lawsuits filed against loan borrowers to seek repayment. We help with the kinds of federal loan discharges that were mentioned in some of the prior presentations, including closed school discharges, false certification discharges, borrower defense claims, and total and permanent disability discharges. And we do provide some limited assistance for people getting out their federal loans out of default on income-driven repayment plans. Next, please. If you're interested in seeking our legal assistance, this is how you can apply. You can call our 1-800 number, you can apply online. We do have 5 community offices throughout Los Angeles where you can walk in and you can just see our website, and we can help anyone in any language. Next slide, please. We also do some other services. We do state and federal policy advocacy. We provide self-help materials to student loan borrowers, and we consult with other legal aid organizations that do student loan related work. We watch for trends and problems, and we do look for opportunities to do systemic advocacy in order to help low-income student loan borrowers with their debt burdens. We also provide clinics and webinars for other legal services organizations to provide training for handling different kinds of student loan cases, for government agencies, for first responder nonprofits, for nonprofits, for example, that don't have attorneys, but that do provide help to student loan borrowers. We can help them learn how they can provide help and when they should refer cases for legal assistance to attorneys. We work with nonprofit organizations that work with low-income students, and we do webinars for low-income student loan borrowers, including after school, closed school discharges, for school discharges after a school has closed. Please go on to the next service. If you have questions, feel free to contact me at rsmith@lafla.org. And of course, happy to help other organizations and of course, students in any way I can. Next slide, please. I'm also I'm also of counsel for the National Consumer Law Center, which is located in Boston. Since 1969, the nonprofit has used its expertise in economic law to work for consumer justice and economic security for low income and other disadvantaged people, including older adults in the United States. Next slide, please. We have a specific student loan focus as one of our many focuses, and we provide student loan services for advocates who are learning about student loans. For example, we provide webinars and trainings. We provide the student loan law manual. I highly recommend that anyone who is working in the student loan space have a copy of this, or you can access it online. It is a complete treatise and available to people to help figure out student loan cases, which unfortunately can be very complex, as many of you know. Finally, we provide case consultations with legal aid attorneys and other advocates who are handling student loan cases and have questions or need help. Next slide, please. We also provide some services for borrowers. We have online resources at our website, www.studentloanborrowerassistance.org. We blog with student loan developments. This is a great resources to keep on top of what's happening with the Department of Education. For example, the changing dates, if any, for the repayment after the moratorium and other issues. I highly recommend people subscribe to that for updates. And of course, we provide webinars for student loan borrowers as well on various topics, including closed school discharges. Next slide. We also provide state and federal policy analysis and advocacy. We do impact litigation in the area of student loan servicing and for-profit school abuses. And the next slide. And we help people find legal assistance. So for example, if you are in California and you're not in Los Angeles, but you do want to find legal assistance in California, there are other organizations that do it, which I have listed here, as well as Legal Services Corporation, which are federally funded organizations that are spread throughout the state. To find them in your area, you can go to this website and put in your zip code, and it will tell you your local legal services office that you can contact for student loan assistance. Unfortunately, not everyone can provide that assistance. Not all legal aid offices do, because we have very little funding to do so. However, it's worth giving them a call if you do have questions about your student loan case to see if they can help you. Next slide, please. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Robin. That's a lot of great information from the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles and also the National Consumer Law Center. Next up, we have Cody with the Student Debt Crisis Center.
Hey, thank you so much. First off, before I even jump into talking about our organization, so far, everyone that's spoken today are certainly trusted resources. It says there, our organization is a people-powered movement. We represent 2 million individuals across the country, and I would personally trust any of the people that have been speaking on today's workshop to help the borrowers that reach out to us. So let's go to the next slide. I just want to introduce our organization. We are an advocacy organization, a nonprofit that fights on two different fronts. First, we work directly with borrowers to help them navigate this confusing and complex and broken student loan system, because we recognize that while we are fighting for fixes to so much of these problems, what we can do right now is help borrowers manage their debt and really take advantage of their rights. On the other side, we advocate, like I said, for lasting and meaningful change, and we work with national, state legislatures and agencies to do that work. And many of the people on today's call have been our partners in really trying to solve the problems that vex student loan borrowers. And you can see up top there, our theory of change. We center the needs and voices of borrowers. Like many of the people that have spoken today, we talk with borrowers directly. We aren't just talking heads, we are echoing the voices of the people who are impacted. They're reaching out to us with their own fears and frustrations, and we want to be their voice, not our own. So let's go to the next slide. I'll talk about what we do to help borrowers, that first prong of our work. So core to our outreach and education efforts are student loan help clinics. To date, we've helped over 25,000 people join free clinics online to learn about their rights. That audience has exploded since the pandemic began. We had 6,000 people join just one workshop at the beginning of the pandemic when people were confused and really clamoring for information about pandemic relief and updates. More recently, as you heard, there are tons of changes to the public service loan forgiveness program. I see in the chat here, there are a lot of people who work for nonprofits, government agencies, and feel they should qualify for this program. And then you add on top of that, this temporary waiver. There is a urgent need to get information out about public service loan forgiveness. So we are working with allies, we're working with lawmakers in California and across the country to help constituents and other public service workers get this information ahead of the October deadline. And then also, we are reaching out to new communities that are caring about this issue. Surprisingly, young people and students for many years weren't thinking about student loan debt. These were folks that weren't making payments. They hadn't had the financial obstacles of not being able to purchase a home or start a family yet. And so they weren't thinking about it. And we are often working with older borrowers and parents to help them free themselves from the broken system and the burden of debt. What is new is that young people see that their futures are burdened by debt, that their options when it comes to choosing a career or the pathways to the American dream are hindered by student loan debt. And so young people are raising their hand and saying, I want to know about student debt. I want to figure out how to manage this burden early on in the process. So we're really creating specialized communications and learning opportunities for young people as well. And on this next slide, just a quick taste of what our workshops would cover. We talk about repaying federal student loans. So we get into the basics. I know that for student loan borrowers, just understanding simple information like the repayment plans that exist can really go a long way. So we really start with the basics and help people walk themselves through different scenarios, either if they can afford their payments, which program to explore, if they have long-term difficulty, how to get enrolled into an income-driven repayment program. And if they're in default, if they're way behind, how can they get back into good standing? So all these topics we cover in our free clinics. Next slide, please. And of course, public service loan forgiveness. Folks have already talked about it, so I won't dive into the details, but there are all these qualifying factors that borrowers need to be aware of so that they can set themselves on track for public service loan forgiveness. It really hurts our heart when we hear from someone who thought they were going to get their loans forgiven for the last 10 years and they find out that they missed one of these important qualifying factors. A lot of this has been fixed by this temporary waiver, but it is just temporary. So we need folks to get aligned with the program early on in their in the repayment process so that they can make progress towards the program. Next slide, please. So that's a quick summary. I'm not going to dive into the details. Our colleagues here really talked about a lot of the programs, but if you want to learn more about student debt crisis or you want to sign up for one of our clinics, definitely reach out to us. Our website is studentdebtcrisis.org. You can email our team at info@studentdebtcrisis.org. And just thank you to everyone for allowing us to be here today, and I'll pass it back to you, Q.
Thank you, Cody. That's some great information from the Student Debt Crisis Center. Next up, we have Samantha with NextGen Policy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Sang, and I'm the Legislative Manager and Policy Advisor at NextGen Policy, here to talk to you today about our student borrower resources. Next slide. So first, quick snapshot about who we are. NextGen Policy is a Sacramento, California-based nonprofit organization, and we focus on multiple policy issues that address environmental, social, racial, and economic inequities in California. And our work includes statewide policy and legislative advocacy, as well as grassroots partnerships to provide resources to different communities. Next slide, please. So specific to the issue of student debt, we amplify and uplift student borrower voices through our advocacy and grassroots engagement efforts. What that means is we do co-sponsor California legislation, and most recently that has looked like putting in place consumer protection for borrowers. And we do this as a large coalition of advocates and stakeholders as the campaign for California borrowers' rights. So you can check out the campaign's website here, or follow us on Twitter if you're interested in sharing your student debt story to change the system. We will let folks know when there's key legislative deadlines to call, write, or take to social media to share your experiences with lawmakers. Next slide, please. And our work to empower student borrowers includes working in partnership with grassroots organizations. And so we do hold workshops throughout the year, frequently with Student Debt Crisis Center, who you just heard from. And we also hold an annual Free My Future Student Debt Summit for 2 days in the fall. We bring together lawmakers, borrowers, advocates to discuss policy solutions, and then also make sure that we're getting timely updates and free resources to borrowers who attend regarding their loans. Also, check out our website and social media accounts. We regularly post updates around what's happening with student loans, as well as easily accessible resources. So you can sign up for updates through the link here on the slide. And we also get plenty of questions directly from borrowers. And if we don't have the answer for you necessarily, we can connect you to others who can. And please check out all the DFPI resources you're getting here in the chat as well. Next slide. Yeah, and so for more information, check out our website for resources, Twitter and Facebook for updates, and then always feel free to email us with questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Samantha. Really great information from NextGen Policy, who's doing some fantastic job on advocacy. So with that, I do want to say that, you've seen that there's a lot of really great information for student loan borrowers out there. As just shown, there's all these great presenters from all these great and fantastic organizations, all doing a lot of great work for student loan borrowers. I've been monitoring the chat, and we're going to get to the questions here in a couple minutes. But I did notice there's a lot of very specific questions, and we'll get to those when we can. But I think the best thing to do, and one of the things that the DFPI has done, is we've created a web page that has collected a lot of different resources for you. So first, I want to say thank you for attending our webinar. We created this resource. It has contact information of all these organizations that just presented. It also has a list of events, and we also collect and publish news and updates about student loans on this webpage. There's also a sign up for our newsletter. And again, the list of all the different government agencies and nonprofits and other organizations who have services and great information for student loan borrowers. So please be sure to check out this webpage, especially if you have a very specific student loan debt issue. And again, lots of different resources for you to help you figure out what you need to help address your situation. Next slide. Okay, so we have a couple more minutes for questions. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to address any very specific questions, but I'm going to try to address the more broad questions. I've seen a lot of repeats, but I also want to allow the panelists to answer any questions that they might have seen. So I'm going to open up the floor, and panelists, feel free if you see a question you want to answer, please feel free to go ahead.
Hey, Ku, I'd love to just address one. In fact, I saw another person drop it in here that I think's important. When we talk about federal repayment programs and public service loan forgiveness, it is really important that folks know that Parent Plus loans can qualify for these programs. When it comes to public service loan forgiveness, it may require some additional action on the parent's part, but there are borrowers who take out federal student loans to pay for their child's education. That's called a Parent Plus loan. And that does qualify for public service loan forgiveness. I'll drop a link in the chat where that's discussed in more detail. But just broadly, parents, older borrowers, they're part of this conversation as well.
Thank you, Cody. Interesting. I didn't know that myself.
I just want to add to that this applies if you, the parent, are the borrower. If you are the parent and you're not in public service and your child is, it's not going to work that way.
Thank you, Desiree. Any other panelists want to answer any kind of questions or anything else you've seen in the chat? Okay, so there's a question here I'm gonna throw out and see if any one of the panelists wants to take it. If you volunteer for a nonprofit, do you get credit for it? And I'm assuming they mean credit for the public service loan forgiveness waiver.
So the requirements of the public service loan forgiveness waiver are that you make 120 qualifying payments. The qualifying payments are under the guideline that you work for a qualifying employer full-time. And full-time is defined as 30 hours a week, or as the employer deems whatever full-time is. The qualifying employers are government or nonprofit entities. So volunteer work is not going to qualify under the employment requirement.
And I'm assuming the same thing as if you work part-time for a nonprofit?
You can work part-time for 2 nonprofits and have it equal a full-time job. That's okay. But if it's part-time at one nonprofit, that will not qualify.
Okay, very interesting.
So just to be clear, you're saying it has to be paid employment, not volunteer. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I do want to repeat that this webinar is being recorded and it will be published to the DFPI's YouTube channel. We'll also make the slides available for download after this presentation. Let's see if we could find another question. We have a little more time. Any panelists have anything you want to answer? This was an interesting one I saw. Does the student loan Bill of Rights apply to both private and public student loans?
Hey, Q, yes, it does. You know, to articulate it a little better, it captures all loans, and I will stop talking and perhaps somebody else can chime in, but the really where the teeth of it are is in that it captures everything, including the private loans. Maybe I should reframe it that way.
Thank you, Devin. And yes, it's the California Student Loan Borrower Bill of Rights. Just to clarify, so it's a state legislation. Okay, so here's another question. Sorry, it's a little too specific. I'm gonna have to make it a little more broad. are there any other loan forgiveness programs besides the federal loan forgiveness? And I think they probably mean federal loan forgiveness for either private loans or maybe other different schools.
In terms of forgiveness for federal loans, there are different ways that you can qualify for forgiveness. In terms of forgiveness for private student loans, there is nothing that requires a private loan holder to offer forgiveness or any kind of income-driven repayment plan. I have seen, though, with total permanent disability issues, especially with veterans, that private loan holders are more willing to work with those borrowers and offer some sort of forgiveness, but they're not required to under the law.
Thank you, Desiree. Okay, so we're right up against the hour. I do have one more slide to share. I also want to thank everyone for attending. I know there's so many questions. Some of them are very specific. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my staff compile these questions. And again, we have a lot of different experts from a lot of different great organizations, and we're going to allow these panelists and experts to try to answer these questions individually as much as possible. So even if you asked a question in chat, we didn't get to it, we're going to do our best over the next couple of weeks to try to get directly back to you and answer your question. So finally, the last slide, I do want to talk about, again, a reminder that we built this webpage, a lot of really great resources. All of these panelists, their organizations, information is on that resource page. Again, news, updates, events, all there. Be sure to subscribe to the DFPI. We have a newsletter that we send out. It's going to have great information. We include consumer alerts and any other really great information about student loans and other events that we have. Finally, if you do have any other questions, feel free to send it to my team, which is outreach@dfpi.ca.gov. If it's a very specific student loan question, again, we could take those questions, forward on to our student loan buds person, as well as move it along to any of these organizations that have different services that might be able to help you. And finally, this is only the first in a series of webinars that we're doing. We have about 2, maybe 3 other webinars that we're going to do. The next one coming up is in April. It's April 26th. It's going to be noon Pacific time. That one, we're going to be focusing more on the student loan borrower rights and also different repayment options available. We're going to talk a little bit about getting out of loan default, and maybe a little bit about the public service loan forgiveness waiver. So be sure to register for that register for that webinar. That webinar is available on our webpage, again, dfpi.ca.gov/student borrowers-resources. Go there and register for that webinar. Finally, I want to say thank you. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to all the attendees who joined. This is definitely, as you could see, a very hot topic, but there are a lot of really great resources out there. Make sure you go out there and get the help that you need, especially since the May 1st repayment deadline is coming up, and then the October public service loan forgiveness waiver deadline is also coming up. So again, thank you. Visit our webpage and subscribe to us, and have a great day.